everyone, my name is Gigi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about trauma and how you are currently allowing trauma to control your life without you even realizing it. If you're someone who really wants to progress in life, but every time you seemingly progress, you're taking one step forward and two steps back, or you just feel really stuck in life and don't know what direction to go in, and you find yourself being triggered really easily by small things, this video might be for you. Trauma is incredibly complex, and I'm not going to pretend I'm some sort of psychiatrist or that I've deeply studied into human behaviour, but as someone who has experienced trauma in life and has come out the other side, I think it's really refreshing to hear from real people who have had real experiences who aren't just going to tell you these scientific facts about it and tell you to get better. Now, I understand three core things about trauma that I think everyone should be aware of when we're talking about trauma. Number one is that there is no specific requirement or level to a situation that means it's traumatic. By this, I mean there's no specific event or situation that has to happen to everyone to traumatize them. Trauma is solely based on each individual's ability to deal and process certain situations. So that means something that could have traumatized me might not have even fazed you. Number two is that everyone reacts differently to trauma. Some people will get anxiety attacks, panic attacks, they'll develop mental disorders or even physical disabilities, all from their trauma, while others will go through life pretending that that event never even happened and it isn't affecting them. Again, there is no specific way that trauma presents itself in people because it's based on an individual basis. It's based on how each individual's brain wants to protect itself. In some cases, that is to become very withdrawn and hide away from life, while in other cases, that's becoming very outgoing and exposing yourself to a lot of life. It really depends on each individual. The third thing is that everyone has experienced trauma. Unless you are a soulless, inanimate object that has never left the house, never formed relationships, you've never felt anything or had any emotions or any of your own thoughts, you're going to have experienced trauma. With the way that life is set up and everyone's differences in life, it is quite nearly impossible to go throughout life without experiencing at least one event that causes some sort of traumatic reaction from you. Now, if you've heard that and you're sitting there and you're thinking, yeah, but you see these people who go throughout life and they don't seem bothered by anything, that is not because they've never experienced something traumatic. That's just because they're better at either one, processing that traumatic event and not letting it affect them and processing it in the correct way, or two, they're very, very good at hiding it and not addressing it and not processing it. Now, trauma is not something that you should be ashamed of. Like I've just mentioned, everyone has experienced something traumatic in their life. It is not something that you should hide away from. It is not something that you should be shy about. It is something that you should understand and take time to allow yourself to be affected by. A traumatic event or time period should not be taken lightly. In fact, a lot of people who try and move on too quickly from a traumatic event or not really take the time to process it and hide away from it instead are usually the people who struggle in the future with completing daily tasks, with moving forward. And these are the people who often find themselves getting triggered by really small things. If you don't take time to process a traumatic event, and if you don't take time to truly understand the lesson you are learning from that event, you're going to find yourself slowly being shaped into a person you don't want to be because of that event in your life. And you'll slowly find it taking control of your whole life because you're choosing to ignore it. Now, you'll see this trauma taking control of your life in so many different ways, whether it's not setting boundaries for yourself and just allowing people or other situations to take control over you, whether it's self-sabotage, procrastination, making excuses for yourself, whether it's feeling stuck in life or feeling like you're not even deserving of the good things you have in life. Maybe you feel like you're an imposter in your own life because good things are happening to you, but you feel like you don't deserve them. Maybe you're getting frustrated because you feel incredibly lazy, but you can't seem to keep yourself on track with all of these things that you want to do. That is not you that's controlling your life. That is trauma. And it's making you weak, it's making you tired, and it's making you stuck in your own life. And I felt that. I felt exhausted in my own life. I was lazy, I procrastinated, I didn't have control in my own life. I felt as though my life wasn't even mine anymore. And that was simply because I was letting these habits and these behaviors that I had formed because of my past trauma shape my life. One of the biggest lessons that I had to learn when I was dealing with my own trauma is forgiving. Forgiveness is a very, very difficult thing, especially when your trauma involves people. Saying to people, I forgive you for all the horrible things you've done is an incredibly difficult thing to do, because a lot of the time when you're traumatized from an experience that involves people, which often traumatic events do, you're angry. You're angry that these people hurt you. You're angry that the situation happened. You have this feeling to protect yourself, and because of that, you're angry that you were hurt and you're angry that you were ever put into that situation. And anger and hatred is an incredibly strong emotion. So the idea of ever forgiving people that hurt you is incredibly difficult. But what you have to realize is that when you are forgiving someone, when you are forgiving actions that someone has done, you're not doing it for them. You're not giving them this relief from their actions or a pass, a get out of free jail card from what they've done. You're forgiving them for you. You're allowing yourself to let go of that anger, to let go of that hatred towards them. When you realize that forgiveness is not for the other person who hurt you, but for yourself, it becomes a lot easier. You're not pretending it never happened. You're not saying that they're now a good person and that they never did anything to you. You're simply saying that you've released yourself from that anger that you have felt towards that situation and that person. You're releasing yourself from that past event. The saying, forgive but not forget, is so incredibly powerful, because that shows that you have disconnected yourself from that situation. This current version of you is no longer affected by that past traumatic event. But you're not forgetting that past event. Like I said, you're not letting that person believe they never did anything bad to you. You're not disrespecting yourself in saying that that event didn't hurt you, because it did. It didn't make you angry, because it did. But what you're saying is that you're no longer that version of yourself that let yourself be hurt by it. You're this better version that understands the event happened and that it hurt you, but you're no longer bothered by it. You're no longer hurt by it. You've allowed that event to grow you rather than hurt you. You've grown from the experience of that event. Therefore, you can't forget it. You can't forget it happened in your life, and you won't forget it, but you will forgive. If you try and act like an event never happened, you will never understand the true reason of why that event had to happen. You will never understand the lessons and the valuable experience that that event taught you. If you view that event as simply an awful event that makes you angry, that makes you sad, that triggers you every time you see something that reminds you, you will forever be stuck in this loop of being hateful and sad and angry every time you think of it. If you let yourself be hurt by it, but then understand that everything that happens to us in life has to happen for us to grow, for us to learn, for us to experience, and that event happening has made you into the person that you are now, and without it you wouldn't have progressed the same way. That is when you can understand that you can forgive and remove the anger from that event, but not forget it happened. Now, if you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be the person that has grown me into, because I don't like this version of myself. That means you are focusing on the wrong things. You are focusing on the negativity that that event has taught you. You have linked every negative thing about you to that event. You think that everything that you don't like about yourself is because of that event, but it's not true. That negativity, those bad things you don't like about yourself, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's, you've gained weight because you were stressed, or you don't like going out, or you can't make friends, or whatever it is, because you feel as though that singular event in your life has caused that the person that you are now isn't beautiful, isn't amazing, can't grow, doesn't have the ability to become a better person, which is not true. Because you have focused on the negative things that have come out of that event, the negative things that have followed from that event, you believe that that event should never have happened, that is only a negative experience, that it has only done negative things. But when you realize how far you have come from that event, when you realize the fact that you are living, you are breathing, that you have the potential to become an amazing person if you allow yourself to, if you remove the hatred and the anger from that event, you'll realize all the amazing things it has taught you. It has taught you to be resilient. It has taught you to never give up. It has taught you not to be like the people who hurt you. It has taught you that you can overcome incredibly difficult things, and that is what you have to focus on. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that switching your mindset behind a traumatic event is easy. You're going to have days where you feel awful, where you do feel negative, when you let things overcome you and you feel like you're not progressing. And that's okay. Trauma, like I said, is very complex and it feels messy because something awful has happened to you and you're trying to see the positives. It almost doesn't feel like it's meant to be that way. But that is part of the journey. That is part of the process. You are learning every single little tiny bit of yourself through this entire process. That means learning the negatives. That means having the hard days, but you're still learning, you're still experiencing, you're still understanding yourself, and you need to do that to progress, to leave that event behind. Now, the thing that really opened my eyes to how I was letting my trauma affect my life and how I was letting it affect my decisions was truly understanding that that event, that singular event or period of time, is only a small, tiny bit of your entire life. And I mean, whether your traumatic event was an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, that is still only a small period of your entire life. Yet you're letting that small period of time affect everything in your life, your entire life. You're going to let it, if you don't process it and change, affect your entire life until you die. One tiny little period of time you're going to let affect you for the rest of your life. And when I realized that, when I truly processed the fact that I was letting such a small period of time affect every single day from that, every single year from that, and I truly sat with myself and I understood that it was over. It was done. I was no longer being hurt. I was no longer being judged. Those people weren't even in my life anymore. Yet I was still acting, I was still behaving, I was still making decisions as though it was still happening, simply because I hadn't forgiven them. Simply because I hadn't forgiven that situation. Because I hadn't let myself process it. I hadn't let myself be hurt by it. I was the person that hid away from it. And because of that, every single day I was living as though I was still in that situation. So right now, you need to sit and think to yourself, am I going to let this situation, this singular time period, however long it was, affect the rest of my life? Or from today, am I going to start living my life as though it's ended, as though I've put a full stop on that period of my life? We are forgiving, but not forgetting. That is all from me today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!